It's been several weeks since my last Fujifilm XM5 video, so I had more time with this camera, taking this camera around here in the Algarve, and I just want to share my thoughts now that I do have some more experience with this camera. First off, let's talk about the build quality. So the top plate, it feels plasticky. The dials don't feel as nice as other dials that I've used from other Fujifilm cameras. This camera is tiny, I'll give them that. It's good if you guys want something that's nice and compact. And I can't believe how tiny this camera is. There are times where I do love the size, and there are times where I think this camera is just way too tiny for me. Right off the bat, I'm not a fan of the XM5's hand grip. I just feel as though that it's lacking something. So in order to combat that, I did add a small rig hand grip, and it made everything feel much better. But people say it defeats the purpose of having a small camera, and this is where I would like to introduce something called different strokes for different folks, everybody. You don't have to agree with my points. If you like the way the XM5 hand grip makes you feel like, tiny and small, by all means, do your thing, man. But just know that, for someone like me, I'm not a fan of how it feels right out the box. It just makes it feel like there's nothing substantial to hold on to. And I just feel at any given moment that this camera can slip out of my hands. So if you're not going to get an additional hand grip for this camera, make sure to add a camera wrist strap so that way it feels more secure to hold. So we have to talk about the EVF, or the lack of EVF. Now, the Algarve is a very sunny place, like very, very sunny, very bright. And as I was taking this around town, I noticed that the back LCD screen wasn't bright enough to combat the bright sunlight that I have here. I even turned the LCD brightness to its full brightness, which is like a +5. And there are moments where it helps, but there are also moments where I can barely see what the frame is. This is where I really miss something like an EVF, so I can just put it to my eye and focus on getting the shot and not worry about the bright sunlight making a glare on like the back LCD screen. It's only a problem in bright areas, so I don't see this being an issue in other parts of the world. Let's talk about the shooting experience. Want to know about the image quality? You can go ahead and check out my Fujifilm X-S20 for more photos and video examples. The XM5 has the same sensor as the X-S20, so I don't want to be going over the image quality because it's going to be the same image quality. For the shooting experience, I do appreciate its small size. I do find it very fun to carry around such a small piece of kit. However, if you want to keep the kit small, you're going to need to find lenses that complement the tiny camera. The lenses that I've been using on the XM5 really makes the lens look huge and front heavy. So in order to make this camera footprint small, I highly recommend you guys get like a pancake lens. I want to get the new XF 23mm f2.8 pancake lens from Fuji. I think that lens would go very well with a camera like this, making it the ultimate pocket camera setup. I don't have any pancake lenses at the moment to test out with this camera. So what I've been using with this camera is the XF 8mm f3.5 and the Zeiss 2it 32mm f1.8 on the XM5. And I would say that these are decent sized lenses. However, on the XM5, it does look a little bit clunky and chunky. But saying that, I still appreciate this camera because of its small size. So I do see the appeal, and I do see why someone would get something like this combined with the right lens. Now, when it comes to autofocus, I noticed that the XM5 feels a bit stickier than other Fujifilm cameras. And I noticed this a lot more in the video side of things. Now, I did a quick test with the wife on the eye tracking for photos, where I shot the photos wide open and I had it on continuous eye tracking, AFC. And the test I did was I just pushed in slowly to see if it would get the iris intact sharp. With my Sony a7C II and my Nikon Z8, these types of shots get nailed all the time. The mini test that I've done with the XM5, just pushing it slowly, trying to get the iris intact sharp. There are some shots that hit the eyelashes at some point. It also focused on her cheekbones. However, when you zoom out and you see the image, like fully zoom out, the image looks okay. It looks passable. But as you zoom in, the iris is not sharp. This is the problems that I have when it comes to Fujifilm's autofocusing. So for everyone that says that, the XM5's autofocusing has improved, it still hasn't. So for anyone that says, oh, I have no issues with my autofocus, try to do this test yourself and, shoot it wide open to stress the autofocusing, and see it for yourself. This is specifically for me as a portrait photographer. I need those iris to be tack sharp, and this has always been the problem that I have with Fujifilm. What this tells me is that, you know, they are good at fixing their algorithm to make it look sticky and have the appearances like it's improved, but it still performs like it's in last place for autofocusing. It performs like any Fujifilm camera with the latest X-Trans5 processor. Now, this is the 6th camera that I tried with the X-Trans5 processor, and so far none of these cameras have given me what I want, which is reliable tracking to nail the iris. Fujifilm has the worst autofocusing in the business right now. It's good for single point autofocus and tracking and perhaps tracking like big subjects like cars. This is for dads in particular. When it comes to your kids, human subjects, forget about it. Might as well hold your breath and start spraying and praying. This is why I sought after cameras like the Sony and the Nikon, because it's much more reliable when it comes to what I need. One thing I don't like is the Fujifilm film simulation dial. I don't use it. I think it's just a waste of space. We could have turned that into an ISO dial and be done with it. I don't use it at all. And another thing I don't like is the placement of the Q button. It's awkward, it's freaking small, and it's hard. It's in a hard to reach area. It would have been better if they put the Q button near the joystick, because there's so much real estate at the back here that they can use it. So, and they could have made it a little bit bigger if they put it near the joystick. Another thing that I would have liked is IBIS, but that would have increased the cost of this camera. I find the digital image stabilization not good in this camera at all, so it's unusable for me. So, is this camera for me? In some ways it is, and in some ways it's not, because I don't really need this camera because I already have like the Fujifilm XS20. The XM5 is just the same guts as the XS20, but the XS20 has more features that I come to appreciate. Now, using the XM5 for several weeks now made me realize that I would like an EVF in my camera. If they don't have an EVF, at least make an LCD screen just a little bit sharper and a little bit brighter for people who live in bright, sunny areas like me here in the south of Portugal. It's insanely bright, and sometimes I can't see the back of the LCD screen. That's one of the gripes that I have. The battery, I'm not a fan of this battery. It depletes faster than the battery that is found on my XS20. That being said, I do see the appeal of this camera, and I can see how this camera is great for beginner photographers out there. The ones that want something a little lightweight and that are okay with what is offered in this camera, and that just want a camera that can produce high quality, straight out of camera JPEGs. Now, this camera is coming in at $799 body only, and for this price, it's targeted for the beginners, the one that's just getting started, the ones that just want to get their feet wet with Fuji. Now, if you're someone that wants a nice backup pocketable camera and you're okay with some of the compromises that Fuji has made to keep this camera down at this price point, I think it's a good camera for the right people in mind. Now, this camera has amazing specs, great photo specs, great video specs. So it's a great camera to grow with, and it's great for the budding content creators out there. So if you guys are interested in this camera, I'll leave the links down in the description below. But what are your thoughts on the Fujifilm XM5? Let me know down in the comments section below, and consider subscribing for more Fujifilm content. And thanks so much.